Welcome to the Mark of Men. Through conversations about highs, lows, and everything in between, you'll learn about each guest, but more than anything, you'll learn a little bit about yourself or the men in your life. This is part 2 of a conversation with Brandon Miller, owner of American Top Team Portland. We follow up our last conversation and discuss how he became part owner of ATT PDX and how he bonded with his co-owner, Fabiano Scherner. Thank you for listening to the show. I'm Michael Marks, and this is my mark on the world of men.
The question you asked before the break was a great question, and you're going to have to re-ask it.
So, you guys got the other gym up and running, and then how did that transition from Doc owning the gym to, and I didn't, when I said weaving, it's not like a sneaky thing. It's more of like how you continue to become entangled with the gym to the point where you're now an owner.
Yeah. So I'm still lightly training at the second location. Doc fully owns it. It's a better location because it's right on Foster. It's got glass storefront. It's got a sign outside on a pole, so it's more visible. Now there's a bunch of MMA fighters there. When they're fighting, they're representing Gracie Barra, which is the only Gracie Barra known at that time, and I still don't think there's one, that has active MMA fighters representing Gracie Barra as a gym. Mm-hmm. Now, John Jones, and some of these other guys down at Jackson's Winklejohn trained at Gracie Barra in that town, which right. I think, I could be wrong, but I'm pretty sure the largest membered Gracie Barra in the United States is the one in Albuquerque, New Mexico.
Oh.
So all of Jackson Winklejohn guys train there.
Okay. But it's separated.
They're two separate buildings, two separate businesses, two separate memberships, everything. So, because they didn't teach jiu-jitsu at Jackson Winklejohn.
Okay.
So, the way that we train, so Doc owns that location, and it's about 2 years. So, now the whole MMA team is there. We've got guys getting into Bellator, Chael's in Bellator. He brings some of the other guys along with him. There's now 5 or 6 Bellator fighters. You got 3 or 4 UFC fighters. You got a bunch of regional fighters, young talent, guys who are doing well. Fob's really bringing the grappling piece to the table that some of these guys didn't have the experience with. And, but the gym's not growing, right? And it's a 40, so the first gym was a little over 2,000 square feet. This gym's a little over 4,000 square feet. But again, by the time you mix in the bathrooms and the front desk and the back little supply room, there's only like 1,500 square feet of mat. Mm-hmm. And you got some hanging bags and, our guy Dylan Laurier, who is a phenomenal mechanic and welder, builds this badass cage wall, custom builds this entire hanging bag rack for all the bags, and they maximize the space out. But trying to run 2 classes on one mat between jiu-jitsu and striking, mm-hmm. It's very difficult.
Yeah,
it's hard, and everybody in a gym business, trying to run a gym successfully, and put your stamp on the gym, on your city, on your market, on your industry, on there's very different levels and layers to running a gym that competes. It's not 24-hour fitness or Gold's Gym.
Right.
This is a gym that produces fighters, that produces grapplers, that competes on a local and national level. So, and is trying to also run some profitability, which they're not doing. And, the model that was in the industry at that time and had been for years is fighters pay a percentage of their gym dues is at a less amount, and then they pay out of their purse, and they pay for this and they pay for that, but it's always out of their fights, and they pay a bigger percentage out of their fights and this and that. And so when the majority of people are over 50% of your clients are fighters,
Mm-hmm.
your monthly revenue goes like this based on who's fighting, how long, injuries, all these other things. So it's very difficult. And at this time, Fabiano is bouncing full time 5 days a week. And the shift he works is 9 p.m. to 3:30 a.m. So he does that 5 nights a week, and then drives home, tries to go to sleep, get up. You got to teach class the next day, and you got multiple classes, right? So you got your pros that are training at roughly noon, and then you've got your evening people, your 5:30 or 6:30, and then boom, you're off to work again, and you're back in the hamster wheel.
Yeah.
So I'm watching him do this. And at this time, I'm at Jackson Hewitt. So I'm still traveling a bunch, because I cover from Alaska out to Minnesota. So I have, I don't know, about 16 or 18 states. But it's a very seasonal job. I travel not a lot in the summertime and late spring and early fall, and heavy throughout the winter and early spring, from December to mid-April. And a little bit before the season starts to make sure that all your locations, everything are built up. So Fabiano and I's relationship and conversations continue to evolve and develop to where we're having sit-down conversations at the desk in the gym, just about the vision and where you want to be, and you're seeing people come through, and you're traveling, you're cornering fighters, you're doing all this, and he's doing a lot of it by himself with obviously help from a couple other coaches that are kind of part-time. And so everybody's part-time, part-time, part-time. The challenge in this business is, by the time you pay all your expenses, the insurance is very high. Your electricity, right? If you run the business right, and you really pay things the way they're supposed to be paid, you don't skimp on these other things. And they're under a Gracie Baja. They pay a franchise fee every month. You have to pay your website fee. You have to pay for your insurance, your general liability. And then, you have, all these other supply costs and mat cleaners and electricity and blah, 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 right? So everybody who runs a business can relate to this piece. And so, it's very challenging when your revenue goes like this, and everybody's working part-time, whether it's the fighters, whether it's the coaches. And I'm sitting back watching this, and I'm just taking it in, and as I'm a part of it on a small scale, but I'm there 5 days a week. Mm-hmm. I'm training 1 to 2 days a week. The other few days a week, I'm hanging out. I'm having conversations. I'm taking notes. I'm mentally trying to see what can I do to help. I had not considered being an owner. I hadn't thought, boy, I want to own this gym. I didn't want to. It wasn't a goal of mine. I never had a goal. I was a corporate guy. I had a very well-paying job. At that time, I didn't mind traveling. I'd been doing it for so many years. So I had the life I enjoyed. I was very good at what I did. And, I had an interest. I liked all the guys. I had relationships, that had become first name basis and grown into friendships with guys like Ed Herman and, some of the other guys that had come through the gym, and hey, and how's it going to some of the other guys as I got to know them. I didn't really train with the MMA guys much, again, just mostly strictly jiu-jitsu. So Fob and I's conversations continue to grow, and we start talking about the vision. And then the opportunity in our conversation really comes around what's next. So how do you take it from, a lot of businesses, when you're small, it's easy to run. I don't know if I'd ever say easy. It's easier. And then when you get to mid-size, that's where I call it growing pains. It's the equivalent of being, it's really easy to be an adolescent. Elementary school is really easy. Mm-hmm. Then you get to junior high, Junior high is difficult. Being a teenager is not easy.
Yeah.
It's funny. We're at church, and every time, every Sunday when the pastor calls the junior hires to go off after it starts, he goes, okay, today we're going to call everybody up and you're going to talk about what your favorite thing to do is, and you're going to tell everybody what your passion is. And everybody starts laughing because if there's anything about junior hires, that they hate to do is get up in front of people and talk, right?
Yeah.
They're going through that growing stage, and that was that middle ground that businesses die at. When you're a business, the worst place to be is in that middle stage.
Okay.
You can stay profitable and you can stay successful if you're small, because your hand is on everything, right? You personally are involved in everything. Mm-hmm. When you get to middle, it's bigger than small, but it's below large, and you don't have the revenue coming in to pay the people that you need to be able to deliver the services and the client experience you're looking for. And you've got this crossover between, we have big visions, but we don't have the money to do it. We don't know how to do it, and the plan's not quite there, and we don't have the facility. And you're looking at all these things, but then the numbers don't pencil out. Well, if we go big, then how long are we going to be there, and who's going to pay for it all? And so that's how a lot of people get stuck. That's where businesses go under.
Okay.
Is that middle, I'm not sure where to go, and we don't have the money or the vision or the SMART action plan. Earlier we talked about that SMART. Mm-hmm. Specific, measurable, actionable, realistic, and timely. So I put a whole plan together, and Fob and I talk about it, and Fob says, would you be interested in owning the business with me? And I was like, yes. Yes. And I didn't even think about it, and I was like, uh-huh. And I just answered, and I didn't take it into consideration. There was no, here's how much the business is worth, here's how much it's going to cost, right? Mm-hmm. And I didn't really, it was more of an emotional thing because I believed in it so much. Haven't been around the guys, haven't get a chance for a couple of years to just really be there very often, multiple days a week, and not just as a training partner in the jiu-jitsu classes, but being able to watch the coaching, being able to watch the client experience at the front door, being able to watch how they do things and the mind that Fabiano has. And one thing that Fabiano has that's different and greater than anybody else I've been around is, the sheer size of his head is the biggest head of any human being. His brain inside that ginormous head is just as big. Mm-hmm. And he uses his brain to a great amount when it comes to running a jiu-jitsu program, running an MMA program, putting together a fight plan, watching video, breaking it down, putting a fight camp, building out what you're going to do, how you're going to do it. If this is what your action is, here's what his reaction is going to be. And then how you drill those things over the next 6, 8, 10 weeks and what that looks like. And as I got to know him on that level and have those conversations with him, I knew that he was a guy that needed somebody to get him to the level that he deserves to be at, but he needed that support. Mm-hmm. He couldn't get there on his own. Lots of people can't get there on their own, right?
Well, you mentioned your mentors coming up too, your good bosses, that kind of.
So to tie it back to my experience and my first boss, Maurice, I had somebody that believed in me, and it wasn't money, it was time. It was those knee-to-knee conversations. It was painting a picture and putting a vision together that you knew both people could go after. And in Fob and I's conversations, what I knew was he's a very smart guy, very, very smart. He's got the brain for this business, but he didn't have the ability to really clearly communicate it to everybody and to get them to see and understand and for him to articulate everything that he was thinking. Again, he's working nights, 5 nights a week. You're getting shitty sleep, right? You're getting, I don't know, 4 hours of sleep, 5 hours of sleep, etc. And so, and remember at this time, Fob's still actively fighting. So he's a head coach. He's jiu-jitsu, MMA, bouncer,
and
actively fighting. Married with a child.
Yeah.
And you're wearing all these hats. So, he offers me to be an owner at the gym. And so over the next few weeks, our conversations go into the details. What's that look like? How's that work? Financials, blah, blah, blah. Then, we talked to Doc about it. And Doc graciously says, I think it's a good idea. And Doc has no ego about it, opens up the books, invites me in, answers every question that I ask, never gets offended. And Doc is one of the guys I have the utmost respect for because I'm a guy in my 30s who has, I'm not from the gym industry. I'm not an MMA named guy. I'm a retail guy. And I come in asking a ton of questions. And Doc and I had some friendly conversations, but, we weren't close, tight friends. Mm-hmm. I ask, a ton of questions. We spend time together. He opens the books to me and just makes an opportunity and an offer that I can't pass up. And he really, put Fabiano in a good place, transitioning him through Team Quest jiu-jitsu coach to Gracie Baja, bought him out of Gracie Baja, bought that building, took him over there, and helped transition that business from that small to medium, and was a part of that whole process, and then sold it to me and Fabiano. And from there, we instantly started looking for a new location. Mm-hmm. So within 30 days of starting our business and making the transaction of buying Gracie Baja from Doc, we start looking for a new location. We don't make money. There's no money.
Right.
Right. We buy a business that does not make money. When I say zero, right? And we're already in debt. So we buy a business that doesn't make money. We're in debt. So what's the dumbest thing you can do? The dumbest thing you can do is go find a bigger place to move into. You know what? I think we should get ourselves further in debt. So we have big visions. Mm-hmm. And Fabiano and I, for him coming from Brazil and English being a second language, and I'm born and raised in Milwaukee, Oregon, and I'm a retail guy, and he's a world champion many times over in jiu-jitsu, fought in the UFC and many other promotions, and we have just very different backgrounds. In our conversations, regardless of speaking the same language, and when I say language, I don't mean English, I mean just being on the same page with everything, mm-hmm. Our vision is identical. And that's why we became such good friends, and that's why we work so good together, is because regardless of our ability to speak the same way, we look at everything down the road and we can see the steps together and speak the same language on how to get there. And we talk every day, 7 days a week, twice a day. I mostly leave him alone on Sundays, but I still torture him on Sundays too.
I mean, damn, the for you guys to have a vision, because you've mentioned some of the hardship that COVID brought. Ooh. Buying a business that's not making money.
It was a hobby. This is a business makes money. It was a hobby.
And And I when I went to the first, and I was like, oh, it's gone. But the building was small. And I remember.
Now you drove by and you would see people in there rolling steamy windows.
Yeah. And actually, there was a guy, I forget his name now, Latino dude who was part of the fight program. And he would come to Shango after training and buy joints. And I'd tell him, like, I'm coming. I'm going to be in there soon. And then they left. But when I walked into the gym for the first time, I'm like, oh, my God, this is enormous. And it's kind of cool because the way you guys have it laid out, you come in and the reception area is low-hanging ceilings, very intimate. And then you kind of go out, and then when you go through this doorway, and then it just expands.
Yeah.
And then you just have this huge gym. And I remember when I first started, the class might be 6 people. Might be 6 people. Me and some other guys here and there. And as the years have progressed. And
was
now,
that 2019?
It's 4 years ago. So 2018? Yeah.
So
2019. 2018, 2019.
So we signed, so Fabiano and I partnered up and created our business in June of 2018. And then we signed a lease in August of 2018.
Okay.
And we did the build out in probably 3 or 4 weeks of 2018. And we're Gracie Baja.
I was Gracie Baja for a little bit.
Yep.
Not long, but I was there during that part of that right before the shift over. Because I had bought my gi, Gracie Baja'd out, and then like a month or 2 later, we switched.
It's part of our revenue driving strategy.
Yeah.
Sell you something and then change. And
Yeah, well, it's okay.
Oh, you got to buy something new again.
Yeah, it's all good. But I was just so stoked to be there. So, and to see what you two have accomplished when we're at a promotions, and you see all the fighters, and you see the jiu-jitsu people, and you see the kickboxing team, and you see the value
Yeah.
that it provides the community and all of us, and everybody's there for some like little different reason. I know I have my own way of showing up at the gym, and I do really value being a part of the team, being a part of the culture. I haven't made it to as many fights as I'd like, but the being a part of ATT means something to me. It really does. When people walk in that door and they engage with our program, I take it quite seriously. And I
love that you do.
Yeah.
You're the guy when you're one of those handful of guys and gals that when we have a new client coming in and they're doing a class, that we want them with certain people because they're going to get a quality role. I mean, we have a great gym, right? They could really go with anybody, but putting them with somebody who's a blue or purple belt that has the experience, that goes at the right speed, that has the right conversation and grappling IQ with the intelligence to be able to explain things to this person for the first time, when you're, it's pretty intimidating.
Yeah.
And, we'll touch base here, what we discussed for a hot second at the beginning of people and transparency and being able to communicate well. I learned how intimidating it is for people to come into our gym. It's a lot of people look at it, whether it's our size, our coaches, our reputation, or whatever, and it's the brand itself is intimidating because it stands for excellence, not only in competition, but it's something that we put a very high standard on in everything we do, and that's what I expect as a leader and an owner of many businesses. Is whatever I put my name on, it's going to be excellent. I expect perfect, and I will cross excellent on my way to. We'll never achieve perfect, right?
Right.
The last guy that was perfect, they hung from a cross. So I don't want to be perfect.
I could dig it. Yeah.
I'll go just below.
I'll creep up.
But on your way to a goal of perfect, you get to excellent, and that's where I need to be.
Yeah. Well, I mean, damn. because to watch the growth and to really to pull us through COVID has been a tremendous accomplishment, and for you two to work together as such a strong unit. And I know, like, because really I'm a consumer, I'm a part of the team,
Yeah.
but I'm a customer, and as a customer, you don't always understand the pressures of what a business is going through, what an owner is going through, how many. Jesus Christ.
Nor do I want you to.
No. Well, that's part of it makes it easier for us to enjoy it.
Yeah.
But it really is something special. And the culture of the gym is it's safe, it's positive, it's healthy, it's competitive, but there's room for people that aren't. And that inclusivity that you were able to incorporate into Best Buy is at American Top Team as well. So through these years, it's been 4 years, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
We switched over from Gracie Baja. So I had, started the business, started Fob and I's business, bought it from Doc in summer of 2018. By the summer of 2019, we transitioned from Gracie Baja to American Top Team.
Yeah.
In that year, I used my job to travel around, and I had talked with owners across the country who were the most successful in this business. I was already in their cities and states, so I just took the opportunity on my own time to set up meetings with these guys. I talked to Dan Lambert, who owns American Top Team.
Mm-hmm.
I talked to Uriah Faber, who owns Team Alpha Male. I talked to Greg Jackson, who owns Jackson Winklejohns. I talked to Duke Rufus. I talked to what I considered to be the top 5 best gyms and most successful MMA gym owners and coaches in the United States. And I went and met with each one of them. And in those meetings, the conversations I had were around, what did you like? What did you do well? What mistakes did you make? And what would you do differently? And I was very interested in the things that they struggled with, the things that were a challenge for them, the things that they didn't do as well as they could have. And to their credit, they all shared with me that time, that insight, and gave me great experiences of their own that helped us to step away from some of those what I would call landmines,
Mm-hmm.
so that we didn't have to experience some of those pain points that they did throughout their years.
Okay.
And look, Fob had a ton of experience too already,
Right.
but I wanted to hear it from somebody who was the financially responsible gym owner / head coach / like those guys wear a lot of hats, and now that's where Fabiano is today.
Right.
But I wanted to hear where those guys are that had gone through those things.
Well, and those guys went first, right?
Yeah.
Those guys really paved the way, because those names have been famous for a while now.
Yep.
And they really figured out how to do it. And it's interesting because business is similar. The thing about martial arts is that it's just so analogous for life. And you get to see where professional fighters are today. And one of the things, I had that initial impression of the frat boy board short thing. But the truth is that guys know exactly how to get up off the cage, because those guys figured out how to do it by fighting in the cage,
Right.
and not having those skills. And the guys that went first to create successful gyms, it makes sense that you'd go speak with them. What did you learn?
I learned there was a lot of pain. I learned, the challenges of running an MMA gym with fighters, and then hobbyists, and then competitors, and other disciplines in between that piece. And being a guy who prides himself on leadership and transparency and driving a location of culture, that was something that I kind of put my stamp on through my years of retail. Is culture's king. Mm-hmm. Everybody wants it. Everybody talks about it, but very few people can make it happen.
Mm-hmm.
And it's one of the most difficult things to measure. There's no metric for it. You
Right.
can create metrics. You can, use Google reviews if you wanted. You could, come up with all these other things. And in retail, there's a way to fraudulently manipulate every metric
Right.
that's measured. And you can do that in any metric. You can artificially adjust it to do whatever you want. Now, I never did that stuff. There's plenty of guys who did, but I didn't need to. And I think that's part of what, really helped me in this business was understanding there's no shortcuts. You want to build a business that's sustainable, you got to do it brick by brick. And, I was working 60 plus hours a week from my senior year on. I was working 40 hours a week from my sophomore year on. When you were 15, I had a full-time job. There was no work per, nowadays, I don't really know all the regulations for a 15, 16-year-old, whatever. But I remember when I was running stores, there was, at 4 hours, they have to have a break. At and at this age, they have to have more breaks. They have to have 2 lunches. And,
Oh, wow.
there was just varying degrees. Each state's different, right? Washington, Oregon, whatever.
Okay.
And so there was none of that. So I just, both my grandfathers were extremely hard workers. My parents were extremely hard workers. My siblings are very hard workers. And that's who I was. And in retail, that's, especially being in commission,
Yeah.
you are scheduled
Yeah.
11-hour days. And that's what you work. And so I never shied away from that. And then as I just continued to be more successful, I had a boss who believed in the model of first in, last out.
Mm-hmm.
And when you think about great athletes, you hear about the Kobe Bryants, the Michael Jordans, the Tom Bradys, on and on. Tom Brady at 45 years old is watching video at 2 a.m. when his family's sleeping in his movie theater room, texting his teammates who are sleeping what his upcoming defense looks like. He's even texting his defensive guys what the offense is doing of the next opponent the next week. And look, I'm not Tom Brady, Kobe Bryant, or Michael Jordan. That's not what I'm saying.
Right.
But I believe in that model, and I think the devil's in the details. Fabiano's that way. I'm that way, and I think all of our coaching staff is that way. And I will look at the coaching staff and the staff that we have at American Top Team, and I will confidently say we have the best staff of any gym I've ever been to. And I've been to a lot of successful gyms. I go back to American Top Team Florida every year.
Mm-hmm.
I take the staff back there. And our staff, with its experience, with its culture, with its vision, with its execution, and all the things we put together to be successful, I think we have the best staff anywhere, and I can confidently say that.
My experience there has been nothing but excellent. And I've throughout my journey at the gym, I've had these individual mentor-mentee relationships with different coaches at the gym, and I've had the opportunity to have that with a bunch of different guys and a bunch of different ways to learn this craft and have conversations with all these really interesting people. And the culture was just such a big thing that drew me into it.
Yeah.
And then next thing you know, it weaves its way into your personality, and then now you're part of it. It's not like it's like, oh, you do jujitsu. It's like, no. Right?
You do UFC?
Yeah. No. It's like this is a piece of who I am. And I remember when I started, and and some of the guys took to me, and I was able to really immerse myself in it, and then fell in love with it. And then I haven't been able to all I can think about is continuing to progress and get better, and then get other guys in the gym better and find ways to explore new ways to roll and continue that evolution that the gym has. And watching the generations of coaches and the different skills that they have, and that weaving its way into the overall quality of the gym itself as an organism of its own. It's really fascinating to see. Have you guys gotten to start bringing some money home for yourselves now?
Yeah, I mean, all of our coaches are paid a full-time living wage, so none of our coaches have other jobs.
Okay.
And I take a small salary. I've got other businesses I own and other things that I do that I keep, very busy doing. And look, I enjoy that, right?
Mm-hmm.
I want to have, my whole background is multi-unit, so I'm running locations in different states, region, whatever. So that is what keeps me very engaged and keeps my mind very fresh and keeps me entertained and challenged. And so I'll always be that way the rest of my life. I'll never have one job or one company. I mean, maybe at some point when I'm retired or whatever, but not any time in the future. And so that when I think about American Top Team, there's a couple things that I'm really passionate about, and one thing that I'm very passionate about is taking care of our coaches and making sure that we have a real career path for these guys that are experts in their field. And when you think about, again, I own a construction company. When you think about electricians, they go through the apprenticeship program for 5 years. Plumbers, 5 years. Other trades, same thing, 3, 4, 5 years you're in an apprenticeship program, your pay goes, 40%, 50%, 60%, all the way up to 100%. And you're in these trades. At college, you go to college for 4 years. So these guys, 15 years, 20 years, they've got experience where their continued education is off the charts. Think about guys who wrestled in junior high, elementary school, high school, then got into MMA and then did jiu-jitsu. And, Fabiano's 50 years old. He's a 13-time world champion in jiu-jitsu. He's competed in MMA. He's had over 20 professional fights. He fought in the UFC. Ed Herman's the ageless wonder.
Yeah.
He's 42 years old. He is described by Dana White as the toughest dude he's ever met. He's a black belt under Fabiano. He is the longest tenured UFC fighter continuously in UFC history. He's got a fight coming up April 15th.
Yeah, looking
Kansas
forward
City,
to that.
Missouri. I'll be there. Wrestled growing up. Has been, in MMA since his early 20s. Mike Pierce, grew up wrestling, went to Portland State. He's a Viking.
Oh, okay.
All-American out of there, fought all the way up through, the UFC, had a phenomenal record in the UFC. Was the owner at Rose City all the way until they closed down.
Okay.
Is an electrician. So
Okay.
a guy who went through the apprenticeship program, and we're talking about that piece. And then Dylan Fussell, was owner of Team Quest Thailand for many years. Was in Thailand for 10 years.
Okay.
Is a black belt in jiu-jitsu. Is a Muay Thai. I use the term master. I think it's crew. There's levels to that stuff. They don't have belts, right? But
Right.
he is a very successful in MMA careers himself. Had phenomenal fights all over the world. Great record, Muay Thai expert, black belt jiu-jitsu. So look at the well-roundedness of our coaching staff and the 20 plus years all of them have. And so for me, there's nothing greater that fills my cup up emotionally than to be able to provide for these guys a post-fight career that is a real living wage that allows them to provide for themselves when they didn't think that was possible. None of them thought that was possible.
And you did it.
Yeah, and I mean, look, I didn't do it on my own, but Mike Pierce chooses to be an electrician and makes a great living doing that piece. But I'd love to have Mike as a full time coach. Ed, Dylan, and Fabiano, and Jordan, our boxing coach, who's a phenomenal boxing coach, started our boxing program from the ground up with no boxers and just put 3 people through Golden Gloves.
Yeah.
In 2 years.
I've been seeing that too. It's fascinating to watch and to be able to, God, man.
Don't let me forget Alley Cat Muay Thai, Ian King.
Ian King, yeah.
Ian is, I got a soft spot for Ian. He's that Southern Oregon, homegrown. Look, all the guys are from Oregon outside of Fob. But Ian King's kind of that guy that everybody roots for. Is missing a tooth.
Rent and food.
A working man's man from Southern Oregon. Not a big, strong guy. Not the most athletic guy. If you think about all of our guys, none of our staff is was the stud of their class, right? None of them had the most athletic skills. They're not doing backflips. They didn't have scholarship offers and other sports and blah blah blah. They're all extremely homegrown, hardworking, get there early, devil in the details, be great at your craft, ask the right questions, stay late after class. All of our coaching staff has that same exact mentality, and that's what we impress upon our jiu-jitsu competitors, MMA fighters, boxers, Muay Thai, is that's the way we know what to do, and that's what we expect from our people.
Yeah. Well, it comes through in the way that we fight and grapple. And I still remember I went down to Lincoln City.
Which one?
Not this last one, but the one before.
Yep.
And I watched a few of our guys. And listen, I mean, I'm a reasonably athletic guy. I've competed in reasonably high-level sports. And the hyper athletes. You know what they look like. You know how they move.
Fast twitch muscles, the guys who can,
And we have guys that
have none of that.
None of that. But you watch them break the spirit of their opponents.
Yeah.
And it's workmanlike, right? You're just baling hay. And it's like, listen, I'm be here all day.
That's right.
And I'm just going to watch you fade until you give up. And it's a beautiful thing to see. I'm incredibly proud of the guys we have in the gym. I really do. I think the world of our fighters, of our staff, of the culture of the gym. I enjoy trying to be a part of that and push that standard forward. It's just a real treat, and to have the opportunity to have leadership, which I don't think people really appreciate how important that is into the development of a program and of people in general. It's really nice to have. And I'd actually like to have a follow-up conversation so we could dig into some other things, because there's a bunch of stuff I'd like to talk to you about.
Yeah.
But really like to thank you, man, for for your time speaking with me today, 2, for this program that you've put together and the opportunity that you're giving to some of these guys to make a full living doing this. And dude, just being an awesome dude, man. It's been nice over the years getting to know you. It's
you as well, man.
Yeah,
you're a great part of our gym.
I enjoy being a part of it. I enjoy being one of the people that greets people as they come through the door, whether they're ready for action or if they're not. So
there's only a couple things that really get me emotional in this life, and one is long walks on the beach with my favorite buddies, and 2, talking about my business.
Yeah.
And being proud of something that you've built brick by brick is, if you haven't done it, it's hard to explain. People when you think about what it takes to raise a child, it takes a village. That's not just a saying. I think it's real. And I think when people look at their children, struggling later on. A lot of them tried to do it on their own and didn't have enough help, right? Whether it's the community, their own family, neighbors, whatever. And when they have a birthday party, they invite everybody, right? Mm-hmm. People come over and they help, and they bring things, right? Whether it's plates, cake, barbecue, whatever, not just gifts, right? But they surround that child with love and support. And I think business is the same way. In fact, I think it's more. Mm-hmm. And it always disappoints me a little bit when people open businesses in their towns that they're from, or even towns they're not from, and the community doesn't do enough, or their own personal network doesn't come out to support it at the level that they should. And I will say that the friends and family that I have growing up here have come to support my businesses at a level that is unbelievable. And I think they do it for many reasons, but it's very humbling to be a part of that and see the network that I've built, and the community that I've brought together, and the impact that we're making on people, and then the support system that I have being here for the 40 plus years, and watching them when I put a MMA show on, or when we put a jiu-jitsu tournament on, or when I open a business, the support mechanism that's there is awesome. Mm-hmm. And I think that's part of, because what we do every day, whether it's we support them in their in what they're doing, and I got a lot of friends in a lot of businesses, right? Mortgage, plumbing, real estate, framers, you name it, car business, all those things. So when somebody comes to me and says, "Hey, Brandon, this just happened to me," let me call my guy.
Yeah.
One of my close friends is a chiropractor. I got so many different industries. I can go into my phone and pick up that phone and go, "Hey, Michael Marks just pulled a muscle. I know you're off tomorrow. I need you to do me a favor. I'm going to send him over." Mm-hmm. He says, "Okay, get him there at 10 a.m.
That's awesome.
My buddy just had a water leak in his house. I need you to go up. I need you to send one of your guys up there tonight and get it taken care of."
I think that's a good setup for our next conversation, because one of the things I'd really like to talk about, and this was one thing that I learned from the gym, is the power of relationships.
Oh,
because when I was growing up, the nature of the household that I was in, it isolated us from everybody. So you never had any support.
Oof.
And having the opportunity, especially when you see young men that are struggling,
yeah, and
a lot of young men that are struggling are alone, and the importance of building community, of finding community. I think that'd be a great conversation, because I think there's more to tap into about your leadership.
A lot more.
Yeah. So I think we'll pack it in for today, but I think we'll revisit this, because I think it's an important conversation that we should have.
Yeah, because I'd love to dig into family, how it ties to culture, community, leadership, and how you put all those things together to make a real impact, and then how you grow your network, and how do you do that through a business or businesses without making everything a transaction. Mm-hmm. And it's not easy. There's a lot there.
Oh man, I look forward to that conversation, because there is a transaction that needs to happen. Sure. Right? You got to keep the doors open, and when you're young and naive, you don't appreciate that.
Yeah.
So I really thank you so much for your time, brother. We're gonna do this again. It's fun, isn't it?
Of course.
Yeah, man. It's a good time. So thank you guys for watching. We'll have Brandon on again here soon. Take it easy.
Awesome.